1-800-636-8686. We go to Orange County. Brooke, you are next. Nice to have you on the show. Brooke, how are you?
I'm great. How's it going, Jim?
Great.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
I went to BYU, and I am Mormon, and my sister went to BYU as well, and she actually played on the volleyball team, was an athlete, was friends with athletes who were not members of the church, and they had, they signed the honor code, and they stuck to the honor code. And I just think, if you go there, you know what the honor code is. The honor code is no premarital sex, no drinking, no drugs, no cheating. And for me, as a member of the church, it's a part of my belief, and so, but it's still about self-discipline, and that's what I think it was. And when I found out about Brandon Davies, I was just disappointed at first, and frankly, really upset as a BYU fan because our chances in the tournament, like you said, have gone way down. But most of all, I feel bad for the kid, because now he's branded with a scarlet letter, and no matter what happens in the tournament, it's going to be on him. And, I just feel bad that he made those decisions, but, he did make those decisions, and he signed the code. And if you sign the code, it's on you. And most of it is an honor system. There's not like a honor code secret police walking around campus looking for you to make mistakes, And people know and people talk. So who knows how things got found out, but I am proud that the school and the church is taking a stand against it and not giving athletes special treatment, because there are athletes that go there that are not members of the faith that still stick to the code and can do it.
Brooke, this is actually really interesting. Let me ask you this. Do you, in your personal opinion, having gone there and having signed that code and honored the code, if it were Jim or Fredette, do you think the school would have handled it the same way?
You know what? That is a good question, because Jim McMahon's come out and said, I did this, and the Mormon way is not my way, and but I do because because I think that they would have handled it the same way. And I just think that it comes down to the person and the individual, because as a school, the leaders of that school, as important as sports is, to them, the faith and the honor code is the most important thing, and who knows? I mean, I can't say because it hasn't happened, and that's not me, but I would hope that if Jimmer didn't honor the honor code, that he would get in trouble too, and that he would get benched, because, it's a good thing to see self-discipline in a world where everything is just given to people, and people get away with things. So it shows self-discipline, kids that can do it, and kids that can't, they have to pay the consequences, and it's sad. I really am sad, because I was looking forward to Final Four, but might not happen this time.
I don't think so. Brooke, for instance, if you were on campus and you saw a classmate, for instance, having a cup of coffee, do you turn that person in? How is that handled?
Well, for me, I wouldn't, because in the honor code, I do not remember it saying that you have to turn someone in that is doing something, and I think that's a personal decision, because for me, in my faith, I don't want to judge anyone else, because I don't want people to judge me, and so I'm not going to turn anyone else in, because who knows, if you really, do you know that it's a cup of coffee, do you really know? And, Brandon Davies has come out and said that he did do it, so it wasn't like a he said, she said thing. It was, I did disobey the honor code, but I personally would not turn him in, and I think that most of the students at BYU would not turn someone in unless it was something that was illegal or something, and I think most people would maybe talk to them and say, look, you're not living up to the honor code, you need to do something about it. But it's not a malicious thing where people are looking for someone to do something and slip up. That's not how it is.
Brooke, let me ask you one last thing, and I appreciate this. You've done great. I think a lot of people listen to this and hear this and say, this is absolutely impossible. I could never live my life that way. I could never adhere to such a code. When you went to school and you did this and you signed up for that code and you honored it, was it hard and was it rigid, or because of your faith and your lifestyle and discipline, was it not that hard for you to do?
Well, because I grew up in the church, and I've never had one sip of alcohol, never smoked one cigarette. For me, personally, it was not difficult in that sense. But, it's actually freeing, because I look at my friends who were not members of the church and who went to different schools, and all the partying and all the craziness that goes on at college, I wouldn't be able to handle. I don't know how people can do that and go to class. I just don't, and get good grades. And at BYU, it's just, if you've never been there, it's one of the coolest campuses to go to because it's a completely dry campus. I mean, and kids just find other ways to have fun. And it really is freeing. You're not tied down to, oh, I'm going to
Brooke,
have
for
to
instance,
go
let me
out.
jump in like what? That's a key point because I'm getting a lot of this too. What do you do if you can't drink and you can't smoke and you can't have caffeine and you can't do anything? What do you do to have fun?
Well,
And no sex.
yeah. You know, a lot of it is it's just kids getting together and just hanging out, dancing, I went to lots of dances when I was there. And, you know, I mean, it's just good, clean fun. We had game nights. You know, it sounds a little cheesy, but, you know, it really is fun. And for me, I don't need alcohol to have fun. I have fun without it. We had game night. We did lots of comedy. They have a lot of comedy troupes, and you go to things like that. Lots of theater, lots of cool stuff like that, and lots of sports. The sports is big because all the football games and everything was huge. We look forward to it every weekend.
Brooke in Orange County breaking down the code for us. Brooke, it's nice to meet you. Good to have you on. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great to talk to you, Rome. Great time.
It was a great time. And the thing is, Brooke, I could have gone another half hour with you, but I want to keep moving. You know, I think that's the insight that we were looking for. What goes on? What's it like? You know, she was funny the way she said at the very end, you know, I think about my friends who went to other schools and all the partying and all the craziness, and I wonder, how in the world do you do that? How do the rest of you do it? Because the rest of the world is looking at you and saying, how in the world do you do it? All right, so there's a lot to react to. 1-800-636-8686. She answered my very first question. If you're not a member of the church and you're not a member of the faith and you sign that code, how do you do it? And she said that her sister went to BYU, played on the volleyball team, and there were players on that team that were not members of the church, but they signed the code and they were fine. She also said, when I said, what do you do for fun? She said, well, we go to dances, we hang out, and there's sports. Game night and sports. We're really into the teams. You know, ironic because they were using that as part of their social activity, and all of a sudden it's not going to be as good as it was. You can forget about that 1 seed. You can forget about that Final Four appearance. That's not happening. A lot of you are emailing saying, well, what about Jim McMahon? The punky QB? The punky QB never drank. The punky QB never engaged in premarital sex. The punky QB. How did he make it? I can't answer that. I have no idea. I mean, how could he sign the code if he had, quote, got no plan?
I'm the punky QB.
They had a plan.
McMahon. When I hit the turf, I've got no plan.
I hit the campus and I got no plan.
I can't dance, but
I see beer, I drink it. I don't know.
I like to tease. I play so cool, I aim.
I have no idea. I don't know what it was like then. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he adhered. Seemed hard to believe, wouldn't it? Punky QB's wild. Punky QB essentially did